Welcome to the Undergang Armchair.
All right, okay. Welcome back to another episode of the Undergang Armchair podcast. It's episode 43. I'm your host, Ando, and we have a great show for you guys once again. We have Carl Krull, the first repeat guest, coming back, bigger and stronger than ever, and he's got a show opening on Friday, but I'll get to that in a moment. First, I want to talk about how does this sound? We finally got our new mics. They're big, they're heavy, they're golden. We got 4 of them, so we can start getting a couple guests on the show at once. We've been waiting for a couple months, and they're finally here. So hopefully, this sounds better than the tin can sound that you guys have been used to in this show. It's all part of the upgrading process here. So that's the good news. We do have some very disappointing news. All right, so look, guys, we're not really happy to admit this to you, but, you know, it happened. I don't know what to tell you. It's with a heavy heart that I inform you that we did indeed start a Facebook page. I know. Stop yelling. I'm sorry. We're sorry. It's just the practical choice. Every guest we've ever had asks us what our Facebook page is and then looks at us amazed with big kitty cat saucer eyes and says, "You guys don't have a Facebook page? Do you want people to listen to your show or what?" So yes, we admitted it. We want people to listen to the show. So we did open a Facebook page. You can find a link to that in our homepage and everywhere else in the goddamn world. But back to the good news. We have Carl on the show again, an incredibly talented artist, an incredibly friendly guy. And this time we got a chance to dig a little bit deeper into what makes him tick about his work, about his thoughts behind his work. And, you know, that's one of the great things about the show. You actually get a chance to dig into what people do and get a chance to really have them, in their own words, expand upon their thought process and their work process and you know, the life in general. So I'm really happy about having him on again. I'm really happy about the talk. I think it went, you know, I think we're getting better at this, and it's just much better than it was last time he was on the show. And we're really happy that you guys are listening. So please enjoy the talk with Carl, and then afterwards go see his show at V1 on Friday. All pertinent links on undergang.net. Enjoy.
Show and you see all the works, you kind of scan everything and look at the things you're interested in, and then maybe when you're leaving, you're looking at something and say, well, maybe that was actually the most interesting one.
Right.
And then you're out the door.
Well, I mean, I definitely have the problem where when I'm making work, I love everything too much, and I can't actually critically look at it well enough for a long time to say, oh, you know what, that one just isn't good enough. You know, or the series is stronger without this one, or, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, don't you have that sometimes where you make something that you like, but it doesn't work anyways?
I think the strange thing was that, like, now I have I made a series of drawings that I call Olmec for the show. And they, like...
Is that the Mexican name, Olmec?
That's a Mexican name.
Yeah.
And 3 of them, like, there were 8 and only 5 could, like, fit on the walls, basically. So I had to take 3 out, and it was pretty easy. But in a way, it was really difficult because it's not as if, you know, you say, okay, those are the worst, so I have to take them out, because things go together in a strange way, you know. Like
right.
It's a question about difference also. If they differ a lot, then they might, you know, be good for, like, even if it's not your favorite, it might have to be in the show. Or,
because
you know,
it works as
it
a
works
series.
Perfect with the others, but I'm sad that I couldn't, like, fit everything. But that's always the problem.
So if you had like 3,000 square meters, you'd just fill that fucker right up.
Then I think, you know, then I would probably work. If I knew it beforehand, I would do a piece for that.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. I mean, you also do like making absolutely huge drawings. Well, how big was the one you showed in Aarhus with your dad? Didn't you show like a 5 meter long work?
No, that was 7.5 meters.
7.5 meters.
Pencil drawing. It took a long time to draw it.
How many feet is that? I don't even know.
I don't know.
That's a lot. That's like 30 feet, I think, or close to 30 feet. No, it's like 28 feet or something. That's huge. Why? Why do you like making it so big? Is that just a matter of like, I can make it this big, so I'm going to?
That one I made that big because I knew about the exhibition in Aarhus, and so
you knew there
I
was
knew
a
I knew
wall
the
that was
size
big
of the
enough.
wall, and I made a drawing that fit the wall.
Right. So what happens in the meantime? So, I was here, your series was basically done. You did some more work, you did some selecting, but have you kind of moved on and started thinking about making a new body of work, or have you kept working with this specific one?
After the last time we talked, I made more drawings from the Olmec series, and I don't know, I don't remember how many I did last time we talked, but I think I only did a couple.
Yeah, I see some of the same works here. That one was here.
Yeah, but that's the old one. Those ones I did before traveling to the States. and
Right,
doing
okay.
it. Yeah, but those ones, the faces,
these three here.
they're new. I think. all
Yeah.
of them. I think you haven't seen any of them before.
No, I don't think so. Are they? So is this like the next step forward to work with these?
No,
or?
that's the last step.
The final step, right?
Yes, and I have to do. I'm not gonna. That series is done, and so I have to do some other work next time.
Do you have an idea, or is it like pending?
Yeah, I have some ideas, and the paper is lying there.
Okay. Oh shit, it's big. Right. So you're going to be a father in a second too. So you got to deal with that. That'll be exciting, huh?
Yeah, I think it's going to be really interesting.
Do you guys know if it's a boy or a girl?
A girl.
Papa Carl. That's exciting. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Are you feeling at all worried? Like, I'm not going to have time to draw. I'm not going to have time to focus on my art practice.
I don't really think so much about that. I'm just looking forward to it all. Basically, I'm not worried.
Yeah, this country is one of the best countries in the world to have kids in too. After a year, you get help. They go to the to daily care and all that sort of stuff. So you can actually get some work done after a year. That's cool though. So you're having an exhibition. You're having a child. Everything's going just like it's supposed to, huh?
I think so. I'm lucky.
Tell me about the name Seismic.
Seismic. I think it's both about the technique that I use, and in a way it originated from the drawings I did while we were traveling in the States.
Right. We talked about it in the last episode. You rolled up pieces of paper on a tube and then drew just the section you could see. Wow.
Exactly. Yeah, basically drawing like a printer.
Right,
one line at a time, horizontal lines, and spinning the tube with the paper around on my lap. And
it picked up the marks and the vibrations of the road and everything.
I call myself like a human seismograph, because every time Julie went over a bump in the road, it got incorporated into the drawing, and eventually you have some kind of strange butterfly effect. How did the drawing evolve, and what I had ideas about the basic composition, but anyway, I had the same basic idea for all 6 drawings, and they're very different. So you can say it's some kind of. So that's like the name. What seismic activity makes the change? Like what affects the drawing? How does it happen? How can it happen that every time I start the same drawing, it turns out to be completely different?
Right.
And of course, I remember the last drawing I did, so I don't want to repeat myself. But it's not a question about repeating oneself, because it never, I never come to the place where it's like, okay, this is the same.
Well, that's a strange thing too, because you're trying, you're trying to draw something, but the situation makes it really hard to draw accurately. You don't have control over all your movements when you're in that car.
Not really, but the funny thing is, maybe it's not that important. Maybe it is. I don't know. It's that's a mystery.
But I mean, you have to
never
let
know.
go to it. At a certain point, you just have to let things happen,
Sure.
too, and then keep going with it and not get angry. Because I mean, being the control freak that I am, I would be like, nah, fuck, it went this way, and I wanted to go that way, and just being open to that process. I don't know. In a way, it seems kind of like a good metaphor for being an artist in general. But I think that's why I'm a photographer and I don't draw, because I can exercise a lot more control over the process because, just through that method.
But you can't control what you're taking pictures of. You might be able to do it, but it doesn't come from inside of you. It's something exterior.
Right. Well, I mean, I took a philosophy class at my art school in which, I forget the name, there's a famous philosopher, kind of modern philosopher, who essentially makes a bulletproof argument about why photography isn't art. Mm-hmm. And it made me so mad, and it was a long class. We had a long time to argue about it.
Why it is art or why it isn't?
Is not art.
Okay.
And essentially because no matter, I mean, I'm totally butchering it. I don't remember this exactly. But essentially what I understood was it was because a photograph doesn't come from nothing. A drawing, you take a blank canvas, a blank piece of paper, whatever, you're creating 100% from your own imagination. You're creating something out of nothing. Whereas a photograph is just a reflection of what is out there. Now, I don't agree with this, but philosophically, that was the argument.
But you can say when you're drawing and the whole talk about seismic activity, maybe it is just a reflection.
Sure. Well, I mean, you can always say that in one way or another, but that was...
Also, you say, like, artists stand on each other's shoulders, so historically, you're not completely out of context, even though, everybody probably to some extent have a feeling that they control what they do and we're all special beings doing something that other people wouldn't do. If it wasn't for the fact that photography existed, maybe most artists would still do portraits trying to depict the world realistically.
Right.
So in a way, about photography, it's interesting that, if it didn't exist, in a way it set artists free that do drawings and stuff, because we don't really have to do naturalistic stuff anymore.
Right, you don't have to be photorealistic.
That's a long time ago, I guess. But people are anyway.
Well, I mean, it's just it's a cyclical argument, but I mean, I think it's essentially, I don't know, it's strange just that photography still isn't. It's come a long ways, but it's still not considered on the same level as painting, for example, or I guess I should say graphic printing.
But it's okay; it's not the same thing,
right?
Like theater and dance is different things.
Right. Do you actually play with photography a lot? Mm-hmm. I haven't seen. I don't. Do you exhibit your photography ever?
No. But it's I enjoy taking pictures, but I see it, for me it's more like a technical experimentation, because I like playing with strange cameras. Like recently I took a lot of 3D pictures with like old cameras.
Right, the stereoscope images.
Yeah, and that started because when we were traveling in the States, I bought this, you see over there? It's like a stereoscopic
the viewer,
viewer, yeah. And a strange picture
and
with
some negatives
with some native
positives.
Indians standing.
Yeah,
and I was really fascinated by the fact that you look at these pictures and you look like 100 years back in time.
Yeah, totally. And it's jumping off the page.
And you're there. Yeah. It's when you look at just one of the images, it doesn't really see. It looks good, but not so clear. But when you see the two of them as one object, it's really, the synergy makes you stand there. It's crazy.
Right. And it kind of sucks you in a weird way.
So, but that's just, it gives me some funny ideas.
Are you looking at your drawings now? Because I was just about to say, stereoscopic drawings.
I thought about doing some funny experiments, but I don't know. It's good to play around with stuff.
Right. I mean, that seems to be a really important part of your work is play.
Improvise.
Yeah. Is it tough for you to remember that? Do you ever catch yourself taking yourself too seriously?
I don't. I think my problem is the other way around.
Just everything's shits and giggles and fun. And
No, but it might not be a problem. But if it's not fun to do, why should I do it? Of course, there's some things you have to do which are not fun, but doing my art has to be fun. Even when it's hard, I do it. You know, like people work out and they sweat, and can you say it's fun to sweat? Maybe not, but it is.
Well, I think that's the tricky thing, because the reality of being a modern artist is a lot of networking, a lot of business decisions, a lot of
not so much, I think.
I don't know about that. Do you think it is mostly just fun?
Yeah.
I would venture to guess you're a minority in that. I mean, because I think for a lot of people, they become artists because they think it will be fun to be an artist, to have the freedom, the romantic idea of I can do whatever I want.
But that's something different. That's being rich.
No, I mean, I'm thinking more like the freedom, like I don't have a boss telling me what to do. I can draw whatever I want.
But but that's a question of time. You know, you can do art even, of course you need time.
Well, you also need money.
But that's talking about money again. It's different.
It is, but I mean, I think to have time to make your art, you need to consider money as well, right? I mean,
sure. But then I know what you're saying, but it's a strange mix. Like talking about being an artist and talking about earning money at the same time.
It's fucked up. But isn't money just short like term for survival? I mean, because I can't grow corn and build a house, because I wouldn't need money if I could be self-sufficient on that level.
Being an artist, you don't work to earn money. You earn money to work.
I agree. But that's why it's important.
What?
To earn money.
Because
so you can work.
You have to eat, right?
You know, and that's just it's this weird thing. I mean, I don't know. Let's break this down, because this show is taking a turn to being kind of about why people choose to be artists.
I think because they can't help it, of course. You know, you choose to be an artist, not because you want to call yourself an artist, but because you can't stop painting, drawing, or making visual work, or whatever you do, performing.
But wouldn't that...
You don't do art because you think about... Maybe some do. I won't generalize, but basically I'm thinking... You do art because you can't stop, and because it's a way of existence. You know, how do you express yourself? You know, you might walk down the street or take the bike while you're singing or something, and that's what you do. Why do you do art? Because you do art. Like why? You know it.
Because that's your path in life.
Art happens out there in the universe all the time. People do it. It's like almost a natural instinct. We can't stop ourselves. It's part of our humanity, you know.
But some people give it up.
And calling it art, that's just calling it art.
Right. But I mean, some people give it up because of these problems of survival. My neighbor in California is a really, really talented drawer. Super talented. And he tried to make a go of it. He's in his 70s now, almost 80s. And by the time he was 30 or something, he said, I can't make a living off of this, and quit making art. And worked, he got a job as a nurse, worked in an old folks home his entire professional life. And then when he retired, he started making art again. And he became instantly a happier person, too. You could see.
He didn't have to stop altogether, right?
Well, he had a family. Well, he didn't have to, but I think he felt like he had to. If he was going to do it, he had to invest everything in it. Okay. Which may be kind of an old school notion. I mean,
no, it's okay, but maybe, you know, it would have been nice if he had continued on the side.
Sure. Well, I mean, he's certainly happier now that he's creating again. That's clear. But I mean, do you think about these things at all?
Of course, because I have to survive. But I see, you know, basically I do my work, I draw, and I'm happy about it. And all the other things we were talking about, like I see it a bit as a hobby.
But I mean, it's a very demanding hobby then. It fills a large part of your life.
It's not large compared to all the other things in life.
So maybe that's the key, in that like living life is the most important thing, and then whatever else follows might be art.
But basically, I think, you know, all the things that surrounds it is pretty interesting. You know, it's not, you know, of course, drawing and being happy and being with my wife and being with my friends are all nice things. And, you know, when you have to think about like a business kind of situation or how to get, how like people pick up on your work and get interested, you know, those things are also kind of interesting. You know, if it's really, of course, you know, you have to, you're like, I tried different things, like at some point walking into galleries in Japan when I was there and talking to the people, and, you know, but
That's painful, huh?
no, it was really fun because, you know, you walk in and it's all of a sudden it's a psychological experiment.
Totally. That's a good way of looking at it.
And also, so it was interesting to put myself in it's different for different people. I think, you know, some might find it too nerve-wracking to do stuff like that. But
I did it once and it was humiliating. But the way I did it was humiliating.
Okay.
You know, I walked in with a picture in a frame and basically was like, look, you know, which is about the worst thing you can do.
No, but no, it was fun.
No, it was terrible. And it still makes me embarrassed to think about it to this day.
Maybe that's it's a good feeling, you know.
I mean, I'm alive. It reminds me that I'm alive and that I'm an idiot, you know.
But, you know, but the fun thing is that it makes you feel a lot.
Oh, yeah.
So it's a precious gift that you did it. Because now, you know, when you talk about, you even turn red in your head,
yeah.
You know.
Oh, totally. It hurts so bad.
So it was a so-called bad experience, but it makes you feel a lot of feelings, and it didn't hurt.
No, I mean, no one got hurt. I think the gallerist was pretty embarrassed too, but
but yeah,
I mean, it's
for sure they had a good story, you know, at the dining table.
Sure,
later.
And for me, it's a very important lesson about how to conduct yourself. You know, like you say, it's an interesting experience learning to get your feet in terms of like how you talk about your work, how you present your work. It's that weird balance. You want to show people, but you can't also constantly talk about what you do or be overbearing. I don't know. I mean, both your parents were artists. Did you learn something about that behavior from them, or did you have to eat shit on your own in order to learn it?
I don't know exactly. Of course, I learned from my parents, but I can't tell you exactly what I learned, because what do we learn from our parents? We learn like a lot.
A lot and nothing, yeah, at the same time.
And we know, one thing is for sure, and that is usually, I would say, children know their parents better than the parents know themselves, in a way.
In a way, yeah. It's like being married or, you know, being close to anybody.
So it's being close to people makes you smarter. And if they do stuff that you have to do later in life, of course, you can use their experiences instead of doing some stuff you shouldn't do, maybe.
Right. Remember that time Daddy cried for a week? Don't do that. Well, I mean, I remember I was listening to the episode we did previously because I obviously didn't want to talk about the same stuff again. But you mentioned something, which was that your mom encouraged you not to become an artist.
Yeah.
Because it was too much work.
But she said it like, one time, I think, and...
she didn't mean it.
I don't know. She thought that life, like she was thinking about the things that you were talking about earlier,
right,
about money. But, you know, I also remember once I did a drawing and it was like the first time she was really impressed, and she was like walking around with it and whoa. So, you know, it's like a two-sided thing.
Right. And that
she would be sad, you know, when she saw that I had some kind of talent, that if I didn't use it, you know, if I stopped drawing because I wanted to make money instead, you know, it would have been sad for her, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I mean, don't you think all artists in their heart of hearts think that being an artist is the best thing ever? And if their children choose to be that, then they're just happy. I think my mom told me once when I was old enough to know that she was kind of kidding, but not really kidding. She was like, honey, the only thing you can do to disappoint us is to be a corporate lawyer or a accountant.
Okay.
You know, and the lesson was just do what you want, you know, because I don't think you're going to want to do those things.
But you'd never know.
You never know. Maybe my history as a famous corporate lawyer was dashed upon the rocks at that point. But I mean, I still think it's interesting. That thing your mom mentioned, which maybe was kind of serious, but not serious. You know, she knew some of the realities of what it was like to raise a child as an artist. I mean, it's like any of the creative industries. You never know when your next job is. You never know when your next paycheck is. I mean, there must be a certain amount of stress involved with that, especially as a parent, right? I mean,
of course, it begins when your wife is pregnant and there's a big stomach. And what might go wrong?
And you're like, I can eat one piece of bread for a day and survive, but this kid needs food, you know? It's a whole different thing.
It's good.
I mean, so did you ever have along the way the like, fuck it, I don't want to do this anymore?
No, but I often have like this feeling that there's so many things interesting me that it's difficult that one day I'm going to die and I didn't try so many other things.
Right, but I mean that's everything. There is so much to do.
Yeah, but on the other hand, you know, I'm just feeling that okay, now I worked so many years with drawing, and now I'm like touching stuff that I really like, and so it's moving on, and it's growing, and it's becoming better.
Right.
So it would be terrible to start becoming a scientist or something,
right.
You know, because why start all over in a strange way? I also, you know, you can't do everything, but if you become really good at just doing one thing, I have a feeling that then you can jump to something else and become like understand that in depth faster than if you were good at doing a lot of things just a little bit.
Right. Well, I think
so having
focus.
like deep skills and knowledge about like one subject, also through that kind of experience, you know in a way what it takes to get under the surface of some other things, maybe right. From a different angle, but it might not be a bad thing.
Well, it could be similar to, they say, the more like when you learn a new language, it opens up your brain, the flexibility of your brain in a way which helps you, I believe, learn better.
Yeah.
But I mean, there is that weird sacrifice, because if you think about how much time you've put into something like making drawings.
It's bizarre.
Isn't it crazy?
Yeah.
I mean, I sit...
Especially the latest drawings. You know, these drawings, I've done so many the lines on just one drawing that if it was like a contour drawing, like this one drawing is like 15 drawings maybe. Like if it was like that one. The one hanging on the wall.
Right.
Like if it's like kilometers of lines, you know, there's a lot of drawings in that one, although it's just a face.
Right. Well, I mean, it's just these long lines that wiggle and move. But, okay, well, that's interesting. Where do you find the motivation? What keeps you going? Because I don't have the patience for drawing. I will just like be like, nah, fuck it. This is good.
But it's not about patience. It's about pleasure.
Right. And it's about being present in the moment. And
one of the like key things is that it's so interesting that when you draw and when I do the line, I have the same focus as when I do like an outline contour drawing. You know, when I draw, like if I should draw you and I just make the outline and some eyes red. But when I when I'm doing these last drawings, which are more like this strange topographical scanning. Like it looks almost like an MR scan of the insides of a fetus or something.
Right.
Sometimes, or it could look like that, or is stachelite caves, or
a topographical map.
It maps and rings in trees and like this kind of stuff. But when I do those lines, even though they're like, you could say, isn't it just like cross-hatching or, you know, doing this texture? It's not. Like every drawing, every line still takes the same amount of focus as when I do like an outline kind of drawing.
Right, because if you bump them into each other, you're fucked.
No, and sometimes you have to bump them into each other, but none of them cross over.
Right.
There's no overlapping.
Right. It's
there's
line
like,
after
there's
line.
like kissing, and touching, but there's no moving over.
Right.
But Yeah, so you say you would get bored, but I would say I'm addicted to the focus I get when I draw. Like it's like entering into a different zone.
We were talking on the way up here about having too much energy. Do you think it's a way of taking away that hyperactivity kind of energy?
Maybe.
I mean, do you feel like a hyperactive person? Like you've got too much energy all the time. You're kind of moving around.
I don't have too much. It's nice to have energy. I can't get enough energy.
Totally.
But it's a way of burning energy, and it's funny because like you could imagine that drawing is a very still kind of thing, but not the drawings I do.
No, they feel very physical.
Also those ones I did, all of them standing, but like the first one I was both crawling, sitting, and standing. But basically, these ones, like you see, like there's like this one hanging. It looks, I don't know what it looks like, but all the lines start from left and end on the right side of the paper.
Right, in pretty much even succession.
Yeah, all of them, all the way down. And there's none of the lines stop like in the center, but they continue all the way through.
Right.
And of course, they do curves and stuff on the way. And those curves are what makes the face come out of the drawing.
Right, it's what makes it three-dimensional.
And the interesting thing is like here, okay, maybe there's also on the other drawing you see there, I did an experiment because I always often do documenting of the drawing process. So I do like time-lapse films. But here I thought, okay, I want to see how long time it takes to make a line. So I recorded like normal film with the GoPro camera. And like one line took 4 minutes. So it's funny because, when you do like model drawing, like croquis drawing,
right?
Often the model is moving every 30 seconds.
Right. And you make 60 to 80
like a
drawings.
4-minute drawing, that's like one of the long drawings.
Right.
So it's pretty fun that, some of the lines, they start somewhere, they go all the way down, they go all the way up, and it was really funny to do that kind of that small film, because I never really thought about time, and it was only after the drawing, you sit, you watch it, and it's okay. Time is really like an abstract thing, because if I had to think that I have to do 400 lines, and they would take like 3 minutes for each line, thinking like that, you take your own breath away, and why do it? Like what?
Right, you'd be like, fuck this.
It's a strange thinking about the amount of time you have to spend on something, but it's
right. But if you
it's
take
a journey.
Line
like
line.
Every drawing is a strange journey, and when you're in it and experience it, you're there, and it's interesting. Like every little subtle movement is interesting, and afterwards, you look at it and you remember some part of where you were when you were doing it, but it's different looking back, like looking at the drawing after it's done. It's a totally different experience than drawing it.
State.
Yeah, and in a way, I'm as alienated to the drawing as you are. Of course, I know I did it, how I did it, and what I thought. Of course, I know that I could make one more drawing, kind of similar, but it's a strange journey, drawing a drawing.
Right, and the process makes it unique every time.
And that's why I can't stop, because I see all these things and they're all different from each other.
But doesn't your brain go to like, oh, I wonder if I locked the door on the way in? I mean, or are you just 100% focused when you're working on them?
I'm focused in different ways. Sometimes I have like like that drawing, I kind of, I forgot some things that I was thinking about in the beginning of the drawing, and it turned out very different from what I planned, but they all turn out different from my plan, because I never know exactly how they're going to look and shape.
Right.
But that one was the most strict. You can see from, you can see like half of the drawing have been just doing like this kind of egg shape.
Right.
So it was really like, and in a way, it's like when you're playing chess, if you do like some sudden thing all of a sudden, and you're playing like a 4-hour game, and you start playing like as if you're playing a blitz game, then you're going to do a blunder.
Right.
And when in the drawing, I kind of lost some focus, but you never lose presence.
Right.
But you might lose like the big picture. And that often happens because so many subtle movements happen, and you make curves and you make shapes, and you start seeing, elements where you are, how you want to shape it. And eventually it made the big perspective shift. So, halfway through the drawing, I saw, I changed it. And I can't go back.
Right, that's
it's too late. The bus has left, the stop, and now I'm walking on foot in a different direction. And I'm happy with what happened, and especially because it was a surprise again. What happened surprised me.
Right. Well, I wanted to know if it's okay with you. We'll put pictures of these up on the page so that the listeners can know what we're talking about.
One
like
or
just
two,
a photograph, something like that, just so people know what we're talking about.
We can put those two up because we shouldn't show too much because people have to come to my show.
Oh, they're going to. They have to. I was kind of interested too, though. I mean, what you're talking about here, I think somewhere in the kind of the overarching art world. And I have a suspicion that you don't give a shit, but is unpopular. That art nowadays is so pre-conceptualized and it's so thought out before anything is actually done that your more intuitive based approach, I feel like isn't terribly in vogue right now. Is that something you think about at all or take concern for, or?
I don't know. It like being what's fashionable and what's not. It's like a strange thing when you talk about doing art. Also, the fashion is never what is interesting later.
Right. Well, I mean, the good news is now it's
interesting. Interesting is always like, and that's interesting in art. There's big movements which are interesting, but the movers are more interesting than the movement because maybe I'm not particularly conceptual, so I don't know if there's like concepts that have their own life.
Well, I think you are conceptual, but you have a more intuitive based approach. That is your concept. You
can say so. Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, these works have a lot to do with recording and time and. I mean, I was thinking of Jack Kerouac's On the Road when you were talking about those drawings you made on the roll. I think all of this can be fleshed out and talked about and written about. That's not the problem. But I'm just wondering because it does seem like there's a constant pressure to have grand ideas behind your artwork to be able to discuss these are the ideas.
But the nice thing about conceptual art and ideas is you don't really have to look at anything.
It doesn't have to look good.
So it's the cool thing is, you talk and you listen or you read something and you feel, hey, that's a great idea. And, because they're ideas, conceptual art sometimes makes this nice thing that you have a feeling that you made it up.
Right.
Because in order to understand it, you somehow had to make it happen.
Right.
And that's a great gift, but it's, and it's something else, it's conceptual art. I think it's interesting. Of course, there's good art on all categories. But what's in vogue now, I don't know.
Well, I think now also it's
right now, it's difficult to say that I'm in vogue because the show hasn't opened yet.
You will be.
I hope.
But I mean, the good news...
you never know what will happen,
Sure. I mean, that's the life of an artist, in essence. But the good news is that it has splintered off. It isn't that there's one dominant thing in vogue. But I just kind of, I pay a lot of attention to art and art that gets published. And often I think ideas take precedent over aesthetics. That aesthetics don't mean anything unless they are joined with
with some sort of overarching concept which ties it together, making a pretty, like, you know, obviously I'm a photographer, I spend a lot of time looking at photographs. A pretty photo means nothing nowadays, absolutely nothing. A nice picture of a sunset, nobody wants to look at it. Of course it can be nice, you can hang it on your wall, but we're talking in the art context, you know, and that I think has changed a lot over the past 50 years, that it's just become more and more specialized and focused and less about making things that are actually nice to look at, right?
But I don't know. I don't think necessarily that my drawings are nice to look at. You know, they might be nice to look at, but they don't. It's not like you're saying. You know, it's not like a sunset drawing or something. But
no, I don't think they're pretty.
And of course, if there's been so many pictures around earlier, you know, of course, and if it's in an art context, you know, there's like this. We want to see something different.
Right.
So it's not about being pretty, it's about being interesting.
Right. And your work is definitely that. I was just thinking more if like you have to defend your position or something, you know, if there's any concern about that.
Like my approach?
Yeah.
No, I'm an artist. I don't have to defend it. I do it because I think it's the way I have to do it.
You hear that, kids? That's why you should be an artist. You know, because, well, that is the freedom, of course. Mm. But I just think, I don't know, it's interesting. I live with my fiance is very critical of the art world because she worked a little bit in it and, you know, worked in museums and went to Art Basel and stuff. She hates all the money and the Vogue and the, oh, this person's important because other people say they are and all that. But you don't really pay attention to that at all, do you?
I don't know. I don't know so many important people.
Right. Right. Well, I think it goes back to that lesson you were talking about earlier about like you just live your life and then art kind of happens, you know.
I think, you know, I know the people that I like and the people I work with, and, you know, then I work with my gallery and I have friends, and of course some people you get in contact with because you have the art in common, or someone might be interested, or
right.
But it's not, you know, I'm not ringing doorbells to talk to people that are important because they're important.
Do you have ambitions for your work? I mean, do you wish?
Of course I have, yeah. But my ambitions are, you know, I don't sacrifice myself in this strange way, like doing stuff that I wouldn't be proud to do.
Right. You're serving the art first. You're serving what you do first, and everything else is secondary.
I'm like I'm in a fantastic position because I don't really have to do so. You know, I'm happy because I can live from making art, and
I think that's an important lesson.
So I don't really have to do a lot of you know, what I was talking about earlier. You know, of course I have to make it all work, and I have to make some money and stuff, but you know, it's very pleasant, most of it. You know, I'm not tied up in a lot of, you know, I don't know how to say it.
It's not a job. It doesn't feel like, oh, fuck, now I have to do this to make it.
Not really, you know. And if there's something I have to do, I think I'm pretty lucky with my mind because I have like this tendency to make things, you know, okay, I have to do it. And immediately when I start doing it, gets, you know, interesting.
Right. Well, you have a really good attitude.
I have you know, maybe basically I just have a really bad memory. So
right. You forget how much that sucked last time.
Yeah, now I'm here and what are we doing? And we're talking. Maybe it would like, oh shit, we have to talk later. And
right.
You know, we're sitting here and I'm already tired because I've been thinking about what to say all day. I forgot that you're coming, and probably I'm gonna forget after we finish, you know.
As soon as I'm out of here, you won't even know who I am. But I mean, that's great. I think that's really important in a way, at least for what you do. You know, it all fits together very well. I do want to talk a little bit more about these, but first I just want to ask, I think there's a lot of younger artists, creative people who are trying to professionally work as artists. Do you have any advice to spread off on some of that Carl magic to the youngins?
I don't know if there's like a magic I can share, but you know, of course, people should do it because they love to do it. Like make drawings and stay in your. I'm not gonna give advice on professionalism. I can only say that it's nice to be in this wizard school and stay there, and do it because it is magic, and not because something else.
Well, I think that's forgotten a lot. I got into art to play with magic, but somewhere along the line, it became very serious, And now I'm trying to get back. It's not that I don't enjoy it, but I've become so hyper focused that sometimes it's hard to take a step back. And I think that's a tough balance to match between ambition, goals. Being your own critic and pushing yourself is really important too, in my mind. But you also have to remember, okay, this is just my life, and I should also have a good time. I should enjoy what I do, right? That's the point. That's the goal of any job you might have, is to enjoy it, because you're going to spend a lot of time doing it, which can be expanded also to life in general. So I guess that's the lesson. Do it because you love it.
And I think it's good not to be too, it's not that important.
It's just art. Yeah. Well, is anything important? What's important?
The important things in life.
Yeah, right. No, I think that's true. And I know at my fiance worked at a graphic workshop which made very expensive artworks. Whenever something happened, they'd say, "Nah, it's just art." Oops, we just ruined a bunch of really expensive artwork. It's just art,
As long as it's not my drawing.
Right. Well, see, then it gets serious, right? Why? I want to hear about the Olmec drawings here.
I was thinking about doing them before, when we were in the States, and I knew that I would do the 6 drawings in the car from the passenger seat, and a big drawing on the locations where we lived. But while doing the drawings, of course, my mind was already fixed, and I was there. But I was thinking, okay, when I come home, I can't continue this kind of thing. I really enjoyed doing the drawings, but I couldn't sit with a tube of paper in my studio here. It would be ridiculous, continuing on the road kind of thing when you're back home,
when you're not on the road.
So I started thinking what to do, and both in I think I saw in New York, and I saw one in LA, and when we came to Chicago, there was also another thing. And it was these big heads.
The Olmec heads.
Olmec heads.
Yeah.
And
I know those.
I remember them from when I was living in Mexico for 1 year in '98. And
where in Mexico?
Mexico City. And I was traveling a bit, and I was at the Art Academy, San Carlos Art Academy in the center of town. And when I was driving, I was thinking about this strange thing about in the beginning, when these heads started, they originate from this area called Veracruz, which is it's like I don't know what you call it, but it's basically the Caribbean Ocean, but little not so. The sand there is more dark. It's not like this turquoise.
It's volcanic.
It's like some kind of volcanic stuff. And at one point, these heads started to pop out of the ground, more or less, they found these heads in different locations, and mainly in the Veracruz area. And some of them, they don't really look like I don't know what they look like.
They're
but
Aztec, aren't they?
No.
Are they pre-Aztec?
No, they're Olmec.
Ah.
They're pre-Aztec, they're not Aztec, they're not Mayan.
Okay.
And so there's something different. And so everybody were mystified. What do we have in our hands here? And what heads, 3 meters tall heads popping out the ground. And I like some of the heads I really appreciate, but they're actually the most destroyed ones that I like the most, because they have like so many. You can easily feel like that it's a big gigantic face, but because erosion and like all this time underground has really done some damage.
Right, so the definition
it looks fantastic,
gone.
you know, with small like holes that you probably were shaped by water. I don't know, but so I saw these heads in different locations. I was thinking a lot about this whole seismic activity concept and how I worked and topography, and so I like the concept of a head kind of getting born from the ground. You know, like ground is also like a flat surface, but when you had to have something coming out, it's also like it reminds you of like, I always have like this feeling I want to make a drawing or picture, but it shouldn't be flat, even though everybody knows that it's just two-dimensional. You know, you want it to pop out, you know, protrude the paper, come out, you know, in a strange, you know,
like the Olmec heads rising out of the
exactly.
sand.
So, and I don't. It's you knew about the Olmec. I don't know how popular it is, but
well, it's just because I'm from California. I don't think people here know about it. I mean, I barely know about it. I just know that there are something called Olmec heads. I thought they were Aztec, though.
No, they're Olmec.
They're Olmec.
The Olmec. So yeah, so basically, I thought, okay, when I come home, I'm gonna do a series of drawings which are gonna be big heads, and so you could say I did more and more line drawings, like more and more lines came into my drawings, and as you know, it became like the abundance of lines kind of grew. The compositions got more simple,
like the heads dissolving.
Yeah,
through time.
So I thought, you know, it's they're all heads, but it's not really important, and some of them are. I would say that many of them you can easily see it. Some of them it's more difficult, and you know it's not a puzzle. You don't have to find it. It's there, and you might find your own elements in it. Because when people were looking at the drawings in the studio, I heard a lot of different stories. Okay, I saw these two people, or like the shoulder of a woman turning her head and looking out in another direction. Mm-hmm. And, you know, that's completely fine with me. I don't have like, I was thinking about heads when I drew them, and that's what it is. But, you know, there's a lot of, you can sit and you can look at the floor while you're in the loo, and, you know, the toilet floor,
you know, there's see a whole universe.
There's so many interesting things, you know. Right. And in a way you can say also, you know, it's my drawings, there's a lot of resemblance with what I was talking about earlier, like the rings in a tree, and when you're looking at a wall where there's like built of wood, you know, you often find eyes and stuff, you know, there.
Yeah.
So I think that, you know, I'm utilizing like this natural phenomena technique when I'm drawing. So things, you know, come to the surface that I don't control. And maybe it's a big head, but in this big head, there's a lot of stuff going on.
Right. And I think it's also important to make artwork that leaves things to the imagination too. Leaves space for the spectator to put their own experience and imagination into it, right?
The great thing is, you know, you can I like when there's like more what can you say, like this it's like the whole palette, how do you say palette? The whole palette. Like, so you can think about it, you can look at it, and there's like pleasures in many areas, and there's even like an exploration, you know, you can go into like searching in the what do you find in the drawings,
right?
So
they're dense,
there's
very
like multi-layered, it's like a multi-layered thing. Mm-hmm. And so like for example, we were talking conceptual art, you know, you have a concept, there's a concept, but there's also something else to it, so it's nice. So you have to see it.
I think that's important. And I think one of the reasons I really believe in what you do, and I think you're going to have a really successful show, and I think that people should go see it, is because there's plenty of ideas behind it to drive it. It's not just illustration. It's not just a graphic expression, but you're not hitting anybody over the head with these ideas. You're using it to drive what you do yourself without letting it come through the page, through the paper, and punch the viewer in the head. You know, and I think a lot of modern art is about making sure people are strangled so heavily by the idea that they know exactly what it's about and nothing else. You know, the most successful art to me is somewhat ambiguous. That there is that sort of open-ended discussion with a viewer that goes back and forth. And the risk is you'll lose some people who don't have anything to say to it, but that's always the case with art. And the good thing that can happen is that you can have rich discussions with your viewers through it. And
it's nice.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Is that how you feel about it?
I think there's if there's a dialogue there should be some kind of a dialogue although it's just you're looking at something, but you know, it's a back and forth. I don't know what the drawing gets out of it, but you know,
it just is.
But yeah, but something should travel from one place to another when you're looking at something new.
All right. Well, you got any final things to say about Seismic and the upcoming show and all that?
Come and see it.
Come and see the show. Yeah, I think it looks beautiful. I said this last time. I think it's the best work you're doing, and I think it's really tied up real good. And I'm absolutely pumped to finally see it on the wall.
Yes, I'm also really looking forward to the whole thing.
Yeah, and then it'll be over, and you can move on to the next thing.
Yeah, then I'm gonna have a child.
Right,
it's gonna be fantastic.
The next project starts. Cool. Well, thanks for coming on the show again.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, how about that, Carl Krull. Really interesting to talk to him. It's really nice to have him on again and to really get a chance to kind of dig a little deeper and find out more about what his work's about. It really expanded it in its mind, and I can't wait to go see the show Hanging. It's going to look absolutely killer. This is probably the show of the month as far as I'm concerned, so I hope you guys come check it out too. You know, and that's one of the really great things about doing this show is you get the chance to talk to people and to let them tell it in their own words. And, investigate. And that's what we like to do here. We like to investigate what people are working on. I did forget to ask him one thing. And so instead, I'm going to put it to you guys. Is art important? I want to ask every guest that. Is art important? So instead, I'll ask you guys as the audience. Tell me, is art important? Is it important to the world? Is it important to you? Whatever. Send us a mail, holler on Twitter, whatever you got to do. All right, we got a great show for you guys next week, so stay tuned. That is coming up. Thank you guys so much for listening. And if you are on that Facebook thingamabob, Jesus Christ, I sound like I'm 80 years old. If you're on the Facebook tip, go check us out there. We have the page. You can do stuff. We're going to be putting up old episodes, so there's a list of all the episodes. You can tag stuff or whatever that means. We're still figuring out how this works. But go check that out. Tell a friend, all that good stuff. And that's it. I'm good. I'm working on my show. You guys are good. You're working on what you're working on. Let's get together again next week. This show is, as usual, produced by Undergang Unlimited. The intro and outro music kindly provided by Johnny Ripper. You can catch a link to Johnny Ripper on our About page. Interstitial music provided this week by Damad. There's a link to that on the show notes for this episode. All this can be found at undergang.net. Check us out there. There's links to the Twitter and Facebook pages. We are the Undergang on Twitter. You can write us emails. You can start the dialogue. Each and every one of you guys is part of this process. And remember, if you do like the show, please tell a friend. We really appreciate it. In the meantime, be good to yourselves, be good to each other, and remember, it's hard to be good. Catch you guys next week.